Well, it is 6 o'clock. We will call the meeting of Planning and Zoning Commission for January the 16th, 2024 to order.
16.
16. Today is the 16th.
Today is 16.
16.
Sorry.
All right. Roll call. Let the record reflect that everyone is present except for Shona Mathis. We will need to approve the agenda. So entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
So move in a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes from the previous meeting, which would have been December the 19th, 2023. Everybody had a chance to look over the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
If there are no corrections to the minutes, then I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Mr. Code Officer report.
I don't have anything to report other than just to mention that the Codapalooza that you guys had the interviews for last month, that starts tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. The opening presentation will be conducted here in the chambers, and there'll be tables in the utility lobby next door with maps and things so that they can interact with our consultants. Let's just wish our consultants luck in getting down here. They're out of Franklin, Tennessee, so they've been hammered with that winter storm, so they've got a lot of ice and snow to contend with, so hopefully they'll come down here, and we wish them safe travels for them and their team. And then Thursday, it will be all day at the Wayfarer Music Hall. Friday will be all day at Team Up Mentoring on South Madison, and then Saturday we'll be back in here at City Hall in the morning, and then we'll break at noon while their consultant team finalizes their presentation, which will be from 6 to 8 p.m. Saturday night. So we hope you guys, members of the Planning Commission, can attend some of those days. I believe Thursday, that the City Council will be at a strategic retreat, so some of them won't be able to make it on Thursday, but certainly take an opportunity to come down if you have time tomorrow night or one of those 3 days and having a conversation with our consultant for the form-based code. It should be good. And that's all I have on that issue.
Thank you. Old business, is there any old business to be discussed? New business, the first item of new business will be a request for a COA at 400 South Broad Street for signage. Mr. Code Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a proposed monument sign for the Monroe First United Methodist Church on South Broad. They're at the corner of South Broad and Alcovey. The map before you kind of shows the existing location now of the sign they're wanting to change, which is right here on the South Broad Street frontage. And they're proposing to replace the sign now, which I believe was a steel metal frame sign that had changeable copy on it, kind of an older looking sign. Been in the city, well, been on the site for a number of years. They're wanting to replace it with a monument sign that'll have brick veneer, have the wording for the church at the top, and then they're wanting to reserve the very bottom panel for a changeable copy. The sign meets the requirements for the Corridor Design Overlay District. It will not be internally illuminated, and the recommendation is approval as submitted without conditions.
Thank you. Is there anyone present to speak for this
Yes, sir.
request? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mike Holt. I'm currently the CEO and Chair of Trustees of Monroe First Methodist Church, as well as this is John Purrington, our senior pastor of the church. Sorry, it was a little hot there. So just a quick background of the reason for the request is our church has currently, as of last week, we completed the disaffiliation process with the United Methodist Conference, and part of that is we have to remove all trademarked United Methodist signage and stuff. So the current sign does have the word United in it that will be dropped, as well as has the cross and flame, which is their trademark. So currently right now, it is covered with a banner, but if you see fit to approve this change, We will then have that current sign that is, it is internally illuminated. It is a very old sign. I believe it is been grandfathered in as far as code is concerned. We will have that sign demolished and removed from the property, and will proceed with this new monument sign. That is not going to be internally illuminated. It will be externally illuminated per code.
Good, thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you, I appreciate you. Is there anyone present to speak in opposition to this request? Seeing none, they will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much. Second, number 2, request for a COA at 1309 West Spring Street for signage. Mr. Code Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is also for a proposed sign replacement. In this case, the screen behind you, the slide shows the existing sign configuration. It's a little unusually dark on the screen, but you can tell that was the old 76. And so they're asking to reface their existing freestanding sign on the West Spring Street frontage of the property. I'm a little slow there, sorry about that, it glitched. So that existing 76 sign, that's a non-conforming sign. You don't permit the towered freestanding pole signs anymore in the city. But they are only proposing to replace this with a new face. So that is permitted in our code. So they're proposing to reface that sign with a new branding logo and gas price information for the Texaco that's proposed on the site. The other changes are the fuel canopy signs. They are currently switching those out for the rebranding, obviously, and they are proposing to illuminate the signs that face the road frontage. Now, that did trigger the need for us to propose a condition that they cannot be illuminated. This sign here, this slide, excuse me, shows illuminated signs facing, if I'm not mistaken, it says West Spring and then Breedlove. These will be non-illuminated, but this one is also shown as illuminated. And I think one of their submittals showed that as being non-illuminated. In either case, our issue would be that we wouldn't allow any illumination except it being external and downward or upward, as you've seen in numerous cases. And they could be backlit or halo lit only. And that we're proposing those as 2 conditions. The other being all non-permitted, non-conforming signs shall be removed from the property without doing an intense amount of research from the file of this property. You know, they got a couple of freestanding signs kind of hanging out on the corner here. The 76 sign, which they'll reface, which we'll allow. But then there's another sign that's freestanding. I don't know if it's permitted or not. It's been there for years. I don't know the situation there. And then there's a new one for a business on the corner. That's 3 freestanding signs where they're allowed 1. So unless they want to change all of these and bring them into conformance and have a ground sign that fits all those businesses together. But one of those businesses indicated on one of those signs is not on the site, it's off premise, so I'm not sure how they want to handle that. The condition is that if none of these signs are permitted, we're just suggesting they be removed. That's basically it. All right, that's all that I have.
Is there anyone present to speak for this request?
Hi, I'm Lauren Gibbs. I work with Total Imaging. We are the contractor to reface the signs and install the signs on the gas canopy. I also represent Jones Petroleum, who is the gas provider. We will, or if approved, we would like to just reface that main ID sign. And then for the Texacos and those 2 stars, typically those are illuminated, but we can install them without having the illumination. Or we can opt to get a custom sign with the backlit halo if required. So it's either or, depends on the customer and what y'all decide, of course. And then for the 2 additional signs by that freestanding sign, I do not believe those are part of our customers. So we can have those removed, or we can ask them who those signs belong to have that rectified.
Any questions?
Monroe Optical closed, didn't they?
Monroe
So they're no longer
closed.
there at all.
Okay, so he's moved, so that shouldn't be a problem removing that sign then.
I have no questions.
And the other sign is for a business that's on the property. You fix it or whatever,
Computer or
Fix it.
phone.
fix it all or whatever that, whatever that was. I can't remember the name of the business now. I mean, if the city's granted a permit on that, then it's gonna stay. It's not a big deal. But if it doesn't have a permit, I think it needs to come down. I want to ask the applicant one question. The only grace I could give you that I wasn't sure and aware of, I'm not seeing this, just never pay attention to it at night, but if those 76 emblems on the sign are illuminated now, Laura and I talked about this, we could grant you to the illumination inside those. So if you put your T-star, I mean, I don't see an issue with it being illuminated because it's like you're doing for the freestanding sign, a one-for-one replacement. So where the wording Texaco is being done, I can't do that. But the ones where there is an emblem now of a 76, if it's internally illuminated, that's a one-for-one.
Okay.
If that makes sense. You're not violating any of these conditions, in my opinion.
All right, perfect.
Sorry, I interrupted.
No problem. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone present to speak in opposition to this request? If not, then we'll entertain a motion, and the motion does have two conditions.
I move we approve with conditions.
Motion to approve with conditions and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Pass. Number 3 is a policy discussion for CDO signage.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't have anything prepared for the planning commission on this matter. I did want to add it to the agenda just so we could have an open discussion in public about, well, and the two applications you just considered are probably pretty good examples of this. So you're charged right now in the zoning ordinance to consider a hefty amount of things that are proposed to the city along the corridor design overlay district. This is the first section of your ordinance. I'm not going to read this or get into the nitty-gritty of it, but in the application process, it says minor changes are only related to a few handful of things, which don't include sign changes. And then pretty much everything else falls under your purview, and we're talking everything that, and this isn't a complaint, but this is, you're charged with considering all these items, okay? Everything from impervious to surface, pervious surface, parking, islands, green space, signage. Signage is one of your key things you guys have to consider. This isn't a dispute. So when we're dealing with our 60-day process now that we have to deal with, and you take simple sign changes like, for example, the Texaco that you just considered tonight, they're doing one-for-one sign placements on an existing site. No other changes other than signage is being done. You are charged with having to review signage. But 60 days is extremely brutal in the world of permitting and pretty much being reasonable. And so I'm not suggesting that we strike signage from this, but I just wanted to have a conversation and get it started. Maybe it's for us to, if you guys are willing to consider that, these general sign criteria this is nothing extreme. Most of your sign regs that we charge to, even in the CDO, comes from your sign ordinance itself, which is not CDO based. So the biggest thing I look for here is you can internally illuminate a sign and the height of a ground sign. Two things that you're looking for in a sign. There's not even wall sign dimension standards on this. 4 of the signs you just saw tonight, those fuel canopy signs are wall signs. So we've always attached every type of sign type to a CDO application, no matter what it is. You guys have seen it. So there's not been one that went by that you guys didn't see, unless it was a straight-up one-for-one replacement in the city, if that makes sense. The ones you saw tonight were enough of a change that triggered the need for a CDO application. So I'm just proposing to the commission tonight to consider. You don't have to vote on anything tonight. It's just, we want to put that on the table if you guys think it's a worthwhile idea to consider that existing sites are allowed to make sign changes if they meet the required criteria. Like they can get a permit if they meet all the criteria without having to come through a 60-day process to you guys just to flip signs on the building, all right? We see that a lot, and so we've had to make some internal decisions on our part, not that violate the CDO, but a guy comes into Paradise Shops out there where Tokyo's used to be, or where they are now, about to move from. Guy wants to change an existing sign that already met the requirements. We'll allow them to make a one-for-one without sending them to you guys. So everyone you've seen was some type of change, if that makes sense. I don't know, maybe this was just an event session for me, but to you guys, but just so you know that your 60-day process, when we talk to folks who are just trying to even just flip out signs, like in this case, even the Methodist Church, they just want to replace an existing sign. Maybe that's the ones you guys still need to see, I don't know. It's worth just kind of throwing at you guys to see if you want to have some discussion about this. Without an ordinance amendment, just some policy that we would operate signs in a different manner than what's in the ordinance.
You're talking about existing structures now.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a business that's already been through this CDO process, they've already met all your CDO requirements, and they're just doing sign changes on a building, it's written in here that you would have to see that, but to me, it's an extreme measure and cumbersome. I mean, a sign change in this city is having to wait longer than getting to a rezone. So that, I mean, a full rezone of a property that changes uses, it just seems like an extreme measure. And all, all the 60-day issues goes back to that House bill last year that was passed, that since you guys aren't an elected body, you're held to a more extreme standard in the state of Georgia now on how you make your decisions, because you are the final decision on all CDO matters. And in this state, they passed that law that says.
Do we make that decision?
The
We have
60 day?
Do we have
We have
the
the authority
authority to make that decision?
About this policy change?
Change the policy.
Here's why I'm calling it a policy decision, is because we're about to go through the Codapalooza. And the consultant for Codapalooza and I, we've had a pretty deep discussion about this. We're not proposing any amendments while they're proposing a form-based code to the city of Monroe. So up until like September, there are not going to be any ordinances generated by us, even in an extreme situation. Because it's going to interfere in that process. It kind of takes away from moving in the direction of adopting a form-based code. Because there are going to be things we can include in the form-based code adoption itself that would be amendments, if that makes sense. It can all just be done in one package. And it may be that we wait until September to do this, right? I just want to put it on the table. So like tonight, you saw two entities that waited 60 days. It's not easy on staff to have to tell somebody that, hey, I know you want a new sign, and just flip one off on a property that's been there for more than 100 years, but you're going to have to wait 60 days just to get that approval, It's a little challenging. I'm not trying to say this isn't a complaint, it's not an event, but there has to be a more reasonable path forward, I think, in some of these cases.
I'd agree with that.
If we could do it, but we can't do it.
No, you're not going to do it tonight. You're not making a decision tonight. It's just I wanted to put that, put that on the table in an open meeting, say that probably want to consider that moving forward, something. And even for next month, you're going to do, I think the only two, and two of them are signs. Yeah, so next month, the two more, like tonight, we probably wouldn't have had a planning commission meeting had it not been for two signs that were just replacements. Next month, I think we're seeing two more signs. And I don't know, it's just challenging. You can say it.
Let's say, and consider, last month we saw the car wash proposal come through, that's been approved. Will they now have to come back again before you for their signs only?
Yeah, and that's not punitive of them. We're following the CDO standards exactly as it said. You're going to consider all those things. I encourage someone who's bringing a new site to you, bring me your sign package so you don't have to come back, right? In that case, they kind of didn't. They said, we'll just do it again in the future. And I'm like, if you're okay with that process, I guess then I am too. It's just a thought that this may be the type of amendment you may see in the future where we're not going to reduce this entity's powers or anything like that, but obviously making them more reasonable to the public that you're comfortable with for staff to make some sort of decision about, did this meet the corridor design overlay district standards, right? Is that? That's kind of it. It's just a thought.
Sounds like simpler is better sometimes, and it sounds simpler to do that.
Yeah, but I don't want to get into, to a situation where it is a new project and we've made an administrative decision you guys didn't see. That's where I feel like there could be some harm, if that makes sense, without an actual striking amendment that actually takes it off the table. I don't know. I just want to have a discussion about it. Because you are the Corridor Design Commission, so that's all.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
Duly noted.
Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.